So I wanted to make a quick video showing you how to use Logger Pro's video analysis, which is a tool that we'll use a bunch. Also, if you happen to miss a class, it'll be pretty handy to be able to use this. You'll be able to reproduce a lot of the experiments that we do in class at home. So here on Canvas, you can see at the top, we've got this module called Other Bits. And the second link is Download Logger Pro. If you click on that, you're going to get two options, one for Windows, one for Mac. If you're on Windows, you're going to have to download this and then install the program. On Mac, you're just going to have to download it and then move the file somewhere on your desktop or somewhere where you can remember. Once you do that and open up the program, it's going to look something like this. But what I want to specifically talk about is the video analysis. So if you go up to Insert, Video Capture, it's going to give you a couple options in terms of what cameras you have. So I'm going to choose my webcam. It's going to take a minute, and there you can see a preview of my webcam. Now, if I press Start Capture, what it's going to do is then record me. And when I press Stop Capture, it's going to open up the video here in the program. Now, this isn't terribly useful, but this is a great way to do it if you just want to capture straight from your laptop. So another way to do this is to create a video on another device like your phone and then import it. So I'm going to come up here to Insert, and I'm going to look for Movie. And then here's my toy train video that I made the other night. I'm going to bring this in. So once it's imported, we can now see it here. And you can see there's some basic tools at the bottom in terms of playing, fast forwarding, and such. There's also some buttons here on the right that are a little special to Logger Pro. Now, one thing that can happen in Logger Pro is that windows can get on top of each other and block each other. So I'm going to click on this graph, and you can see my video just hit itself. I'm going to then resize this graph so that I can see both the graph and the video. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to take this video. I'll play the video. It's really exciting. What we're going to do is take this video and insert data points on it. And that's going to allow us to get position and time data directly from the video. And it's going to do so really quite accurately, more so than you can do on your own. So the first thing we're going to do is press this button down here. And these are going to turn on or enable all the video analysis buttons. I'm then going to kind of scroll back to kind of more or less the beginning of my motion. Now, in this case, it doesn't matter if I start where my ruler is. It doesn't matter where my zero is, so to speak. I can start just about anywhere. I'm then going to come up to this second tool right here, which is this Add Point tool. And then I'm going to pick a place on the object that's moving, in this case, the train. I'm going to pick a point on that, and that's the point that I'm going to track for the entire video. So I'm going to track roughly the nose of the train. So I'm going to click there, and you'll notice that the video fast forwards a little bit. Now, you can continue to click and click and click, and you could probably add 50 or 100 data points here. But it gets tricky because the train's not moving very far. So we can also just fast forward this. Click on the train again, fast forward. And you'll notice that while this is a little tedious, it's a lot faster than what you were doing with your phones and a ruler. I'm going to keep moving. Now, if you do happen to have an object that is blurred, sometimes if you're dropping a ball, or the object's moving too fast, you will get a blur of a shape. In that case, you want to pick the center of the blur, and you'll get pretty accurate data. Do one more data point, like so. So now if you look at the graph that we have down at the bottom right, we've got two sets of data points. One is the X value, one is the Y value. And these are just the X and Y coordinates from the video itself. And if you look at the units, we're not really sure what's going on. We've got time on the horizontal, but the vertical, those numbers are huge. And that's because it's in pixels. And so we need to change that. We need to adjust that. And we can do that with this fourth tool here, this set scale. And this is it's important when you make the video to have a object in there that you know the size of it. In this case, it's the meter stick. Click and hold on one end of the meter stick and then drag this green line down to the other end of the meter stick. Let go of my mouse. And then it's going to pop up this question of how big is that object? Now, this is just a label. That's really all it is. So if you have something that's a foot, if you have something that's 6 inches, don't use inches and feet, but you can convert that to centimeters and meters. If you have something in centimeters, great. Doesn't really matter. It doesn't need to be a whole unit, but in this case, a meter stick works really well. So the default is 1 meter. You can press OK. And with that, you can now see that my graph, the scale reset itself, and we're a little bit more reasonable. Now, in this case, all the motion is happening in the X direction. It's all happening in the X direction. My train's not moving up and down. So what I'm going to do here in my graph is right click here on the label on the vertical axis, click on that, and I'm going to select just the X coordinate. And what I'm left with is just the X data. Pretty handy. This should look an awful lot like the data that you guys got from your first day in class where you were gathering the data by hand. Now we can go a step further. And if I come up to my tools up here, this tool here is a linear fit. What that's going to do is try to fit a line to our data. Now, if none of our data is selected, it's going to try to fit it to all of our data, which in this case works. But I could also select certain points, like so if I just wanted to fit these points. In this case, I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to press linear fit. And what that does here is give me an equation of that line. So that we can see our slope is 0.1589 meters per second, which is a speed. We've also got a y-intercept that's basically 0, which is what we would expect. At 0 time, it had gone 0 distance. We also have here two numbers that can be a little confusing, but they're worth knowing a little bit about. The correlation, the closer that is to 1, the more perfect a fit that is. And in this case, we've got a correlation of 1, suggesting that these data points are almost in a perfect line. Also, this RMSE, you'll see this more often. Now, the smaller that is, the better. So it's all relative. So sometimes 10 is small, sometimes 100 is small. But in this case, 0.002 is definitely a small number. So we have a linear fit to our data, indicates that we have a constant speed of our object. Okay, so let's talk about a few other things you can do here with the video analysis. Now, sometimes you'll get a data point that's in the wrong place. So if you come up to the first tool here, you can then select a data point and move it around. And notice that it moves around in real time on my graph. And then if you need to delete it, you can simply select it and press delete, and it will be deleted. The other really useful tool here is the examine tool. You can come up here, and if we use this on our graph, we can use this examine tool on our graph to go back and forth, and our video will move back and forth. This is really helpful if you have a weird data point, it doesn't seem to fit the pattern, and you're not sure what's going on. You can kind of fast forward or rewind to that data point and see what's going on and make sure that that data point was placed in the correct position. So there you go. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but definitely a couple steps that you got to remember on how to do this. We'll be using this throughout the year. It is a little tedious, but it is a quick and accurate way of gathering data from moving objects.